think first you have to assess what you have in your community. Just right here in the panel from Oakland, you have somebody who owns a venue, you have somebody who has a film company, and you have somebody who runs a radio show, among other things. You have to assess what you have, and you have to work from there. How it went down in our community and how much of this film was filmed was that we would get calls from the community. The Lavelle mixing part was filmed. We was there before the news was there, really. And how we got the word is, I got a huge family in Oakland, huge network in Oakland. You know, just so y'all have, I know most of y'all never been to Oakland. Oakland is only 400,000 people. So if you grow up in Oakland, you pretty much have a grasp on your generation in Oakland. You know somebody that knows somebody that know that person. So the Lavelle mixing thing went down. I have a cousin that lived about 2 or 3 blocks from there, and I had a friend that was on his way to the airport. Both of them called when the first gunshots got heard. And they was like, we don't know what the hell is going on, but there's hella police out there. Jay, you should get out there. You and your crew should get out there and report, because there's so many police out there, it's gonna be on the news or whatnot. So we went out there, me and Adimu went out there and did what we call in the Prisoners of Conscience Committee a people's investigation. We investigated what exactly was going on. We investigated, what the sentiments of the people were. We investigated what the news was doing there. And, basically you saw what exactly happened. And I just want to put it out there that everybody's not an organizer. So I think let's be clear on that. Everybody's not an organizer. So it's very important though, but we all can play a part. We all can play a part. And find the organizers in the community that's principled, that you can trust, that have a track record, a track record of work, not just talking. And that's how you build up, that's how the freedom fighter journalist builds up confidence in the community. Then you can work with the journalists and, hopefully you can get introduced or you are so ingrained in your community, whereas you know who does what in the community, and you can pull on those different resources to make the story bigger and bigger. Realizing that Fox News, NBC, all of them work for the system. All of them is corporate news, mainstream news. What they do first is look at what the police say on the press release. I'm in the media. I know Jesse can tell you the same thing. They first look at what are the police saying. That's the most important meat and potatoes in their story. Is what is the police saying? Then they balance it out with whoever they feel the most outrageous person outside is, and then they go interview them to discredit the story. But let's not look at it for what it's not just racism, but it's social conditioning is what they're doing to tell you that these people don't have a voice and these people don't deserve to be alive. That's what the news does.
Good points, good points. So what I'm hearing, essential point that he said was assess the resources that you have that are around you and get familiar with them in your city, in your area. Can we agree with that? Definitely. Okay, who's next? We're talking about essential tools needing to organize. Anybody can answer that needed to organize effectively and respond to things that are going on in our community.
Okay. One thing I didn't say to you all is how I came to Safe Street. May 9, 2006, my mentally ill brother-in-law was murdered by NOPD. And Safe Street is a base building organization that builds collective power in targeted community. So somebody from Safe Street reached out to the family, and we came to a Safe Street meeting. I had been a healthcare worker for 28 years, but I went through a mental terror, being terrorized because I was on the scene the night that NOPD kept us 2 blocks around the corner while they murdered my brother-in-law and covered up. And that was like waking a dead man in me. So sometimes it's your experience, whether you know you're organized or not. Sometimes you can have some experiences in your life that will make you become that organizer that you didn't even know that you were. So that's the type of organizing we do at Safe Street. We look for people with experiences. When we hear about, even if they say the police killed somebody, we still go reach out to that family as a support mechanism. Even when guys are being accused of stuff, we go to court. with these families and let them know that they're not alone in the experience, because we know the cover-ups that happen on a daily basis by NOPD.
So I'm hearing she said you reaching out to those that went through what has already happened. Because they'll be the best, some of the best organized. I bear witness that when during Gina and Jordan, Florida can attest to this, we went down to Gina, the family had already been organizing themselves and already had started collectively bringing together the black people that were already experiencing stuff in Gina. That's a good point. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Wall.
If I can, I think there's several other things you need. You need a correct class analysis of the situation. You need a very clear analysis of who are your real friends and who are your real enemies. And that requires a serious, sharp class analysis, wherever you reside or live. In addition, you need to have what I call a clear understanding of the true nature of the state that you live under. We live in a capitalist state. What essentially is that? It's every state in world history has been a state of class rule. Society has always been divided up since primitive communism, since society split into classes, divided up into classes. But every state that existed for a particular class that controlled it. So you need to be clear of what kind of state we live under. It's a state of armed men. It's the Democratic Party. It's the Republican Party. It's courts. It's prisons. It's lawyers. It's an army. And all of that collectively makes a state, makes this state, which is a very oppressive state that only serves one class in this country, the rich billionaire class. You need to be clear on the different nations and nationalities that exist in this country. Now, you and I went to school, and we were taught one nation, under God, undivided, indivisible, etc. That's a bunch of BS. There are many nations in this country, and most countries in the world have more than one nation inside it. But this country teaches us the misconception that a nation and a country are the same thing. That's not true. We are a multinational country, but only one nation in this country has state power. Okay? And that's the Anglo-American nation, for the benefit of the rich billionaires that run that nation too. And the state holds down all other nations in this country. And the last thing we need to be clear on is this. And this is where a serious problem develops in all these struggles because of the incorrect analysis. History only knows of two ways to solve these problems. You're either on the reformist road, which means you're trying to reform the existing order, okay? Or you're on the revolutionary road, which means that you are clear that the order you live in must be defeated.
I'd like to briefly just talk about what are we organizing people into. And I think that that's something that I deeply agree and respect with what Mr. Waters is talking about. And at the same time, I think today the beast that our communities face has become so multifaceted that we can't pick one side. We have to have a dual approach. We have to address immediate problems. We have to come up with the Band-Aid solutions. We have to stop the bleeding as soon as possible. We have to keep people from going in the system. We have to get people out of the system. We have to change the laws while we are visionary and we're thinking about a real strategy that's going to win. Because everybody in this room was moved by this film and knows what we're facing. We're facing a level of oppression that is disgusting, okay, that has ruled this country and most of the world for hundreds of years. It's no small thing what we're facing. I don't think I'm assuming too much by saying that I'm preaching to the choir when I talk about that. So let's take a step further and be critical, and really be critical of where we mess up, where we need to be tight, where we need to be disciplined in our work and in our struggle to really make solutions. And that's that visionary piece. We talk revolution, but we are asking people to join a fight that they're going to lose. okay? And when you organize and you take a role of leadership, you don't ask people to join a fight that you can't win. And if you don't have a vision of where you're going and you don't have a clear strategy and you're asking people to follow you, they're gonna get hurt. And so for me, I think that that's a really important critique that we need to take into, and I'm not calling out the folks in Oakland, I'm calling out us here, me, as a person who's in part of this organizing effort, that if we don't really prove to the folks that we're trying to organize that we've got the backup and we've got the vision to get us where we're going, they're not gonna follow us. And that's one thing, why when we call a protest, people don't show up, why when we're trying to fight, we don't get the kind of support from the community, is because we haven't done that work. And so I really call a challenge to us in this room and to us in this movement to be disciplined about our vision and about our strategy.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, so everything everybody said basically, addressed the question. Just one thing I just like to do is just, I use my art as a tool to organize, and I try to keep my ear to the street and hear the voice of the people and the pulse of the people. So, I mean, one important thing I really want to do today on this panel, I want to hear from you, the audience, and I want to hear your concerns, your questions, and your comments. And for me, that's how I organize, because I take what you said and process it back to my folks. And that's really the main goal of hip-hop, was to teach to each. And that's the era I came up in, and I truly believe in it. And that's myself personally, how I do it.
Appreciate that, yes, sir.
Oh, and I would say the same thing. I mean, I don't really have to comment because we've had like 5 billion comments on it. So I think just I was timing it, and if we keep going like this, it's gonna be, the hour gonna get caught up real, Yeah, we're not gonna get nothing accomplished with this format because it'll take up the hour real fast. So we might have to change it up a little bit. Let the audience kind of take, talk and lead.
Well, let me say this as the moderator. I got you on that, and I already said that we're going to hit the audience. Now, we passed the mic, and it was open to everybody, but every next question is not going to be for everybody to answer. It's going to be specifics. But I at least want to get that essential. And of course, we all know if you ever moderate anything, the biggest challenge is when you got a lineup of heavy weights, it's always going to be difficult because everybody got something to bring to the table. So I got you on that, definitely.
Well, I'll defer right here. I'll wait until I really feel like saying something.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, yes, sir. So what we want to do is, now, want to bring the audience, anybody that has a comment, because we definitely recording this, we can ask you to come up to the microphone on this side. Do we have another mic? We want you to come up, so we have to record this. And we want you, again, we're talking about organizing. Now, if you had experience, if you have not had experience, you can still talk about what are some of the essential things that you have used to be effective in rallying around people, organizing people to respond. Now, I would say one thing is people are coming up. I know one thing that I'm talking about myself in organizing, and I'll give you the Gina 6 as an example. When we're dealing with a major situation like that, sometimes we fail to have the truth that go in the beginning, but we don't do a good job of preparing the follow-up truths. Meaning, for example, when a family is promised so much stuff during a march and a rally, and then there's nobody to be on the back end to make sure people keep their word, and those families begin to suffer, and then we on to the next one. So those are essential things like that. I think that follow up and plan and even past the event, that's something that I know myself that I have learned to do better, and I learned that from the Gina 6 because I saw how those families continued to struggle after we had 50,000 people in Gina, but then the mother couldn't pay her water bill, and she was calling me, and I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, I'm just being real. She was calling me and my brother in Houston. I'm trying to keep my lights on when 50,000 was just left. So I said, dang, we can't let that happen when we organize. We got to have some kind of follow-up truth. So I said, I'm going to make sure I do my part in following up. All right, let's open up to the floor, to the audience. It's the sister that was waving in the back. Yes. All right.
Is this on? Yeah.
Yes, it's on.
I don't have a question. I do have some comments because my husband and I have to leave. I wanted to thank all of y'all for gracing our city and sharing the information and continuing to inspire us. Father Leon and I have been working together already. My name is Sable, by the way. on the Hope for Haitian Children Foundation effort. But just thank y'all, and I pray that y'all have continued protection and the motivation, the strength, and the courage to keep doing what you're doing and inspire the world to keep fighting for what's morally and ethically overdue. I should.
Thank you, Ashe.
Thank you. Okay, who else? Effective tools and strategies. Now, I don't want to start calling people out here that I personally know is doing things. Come on now. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Monica, and mine is not so much like personal like strategies, but it's sort of like a question about the film. I just want to say that I really was moved by the film and your footage. But my question is that, do you feel that your film sort of advocates violence? In terms of...
Do we feel our film advocates violence? No, I feel like the
Hold on,
police.
I don't think she was finished. She was
I
finished.
guess I just want to say something better in terms of you're supposed to, like, your film was trying to promote change and peace and everything like that, but there were certain times where I felt like violence against the police was idolized, and I was sort of worried about that.
Thank you so much for your question.
No, we weren't idolizing violence. We were showing you what state violence is. We were showing you the people's response to state violence. We were showing you we were just documenting what was happening and what was going on. Everything that was none of that was scripted. So it's not as if we was idolizing violence. It was as if the violence was happening to us. What I really feel was real funny in when we do these screenings and stuff, and also with this panel. And I'm glad that the brother said something about class, you know what I'm saying? Because even within our communities, beyond racial classes, beyond racial lines, we have field Negroes and house Negroes. That's what Malcolm X called it. You got the field Negro who care more about what's happening to the master than the bastard do. Then you have, that's the house Negro. Then you have the field Negro who is trying to change the system by any means. And we see this is documentation of, this is a field Negro production. You know, that's what this is. So I'm saying we about pure resistance. And just to address some of the stuff that was up here, we have success in organizing. You know what I'm saying? You was talking about success that people don't have. We have success in what we be doing, as you can see on the film, and as Marcel Diallo can tell you, because it happens at his venue. But to answer your question in short, no, we don't idolize violence. We're showing you how the police idolize violence and how we back the police up off of us. Because honestly, Oakland had the most. Hold on, I don't even want y'all to clap. I want y'all to listen to this. Because Oakland has had the most effective battle against police terrorism that this country has seen. Period.
All right, let's let Mr. Adimu want to add to that. That's Mike.
Whether you talk about Black Panther Party or Oscar Grant or Lavelle Mixon.
I think one of the key things to your question, and I'm glad that you asked that, because I think it's a good question, and it lets me know what the people are thinking. But one thing that Marcel said when he first came up here that I think we all fight for is like, we fight for beauty. You know, we don't idolize violence. I think what the film showed is how we're being slaughtered. And one quote the lady said, while you boo-hooing and crying about those cops, remember how they slaughtered your brother. And so what I'm trying to show and what we're trying to get across is that, man, it's so hectic and it's so violent. And it's, I was just telling a brother the other day, man, I said, man, 2 of my students was just murdered on 10th and Willow up the street from my house by 2 other brothers that look just like them. And so we trapped in this cycle of violence, and me and Marcel was talking up here, and we was like, man, we came out here and we was just so peaceful. And we was sitting back just looking, like, man, it's calm out here. We feel peace. We're not from here. We feel calm. And when we get back home, it's back to we in the war zone. And that's what we're trying to tell you. There's no way in the world we idolize violence, I would just say that.
Can I just
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say that despite what you might think, I do not consider myself a house Negro. And I was basically concerned about what, I guess when I said idolize, I wasn't so much worried about police. I was sort of worried about how black youth would take the sort of idea that I'm going to go down as a hero if I'm pulled over and I start shooting before they start asking me questions. That was my comment. That's where I was going.
So that, well, I was
We're gonna have to move on
say
because we don't want to spend too much time just on this one.
Well, I want to say a little something about that, if I can. Thank you. I think it's I think it's kind of healthy and okay for anyone watching the film to have any reaction that they want to have to it.
Right.
If some people see this and they want to go organize a protest march against the police, that's fine. If others see it, want to become suicide snipers, that's fine. Like, it's, you know, it's a free country. People are free to express themselves any way they see fit. And I think that the problem with us is we get caught up in thinking we're the moral consciousness for everybody. We're all not going to solve our problems the same way. I'm not a violent person, so I won't see that as advocating violence. But if I'm, you know, hyphy and I see it, I might just want to go ride up on a popo. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's kind of like to each his own, and that's what great art is about. You know, it's to bring out, it's like education, educare, bring out that which is within. So if you violent, ride. If you peaceful, march. Change the system from within. And I think it's all okay though. I don't think it's, I mean, it's okay to be uncomfortable, because that's another thing the great art does is it should, you should be okay being uncomfortable. Yeah, so that's it.
I appreciate it. And that's great. And I think that what he said with 393 is an entrance, a transformation, then an exit. So it's going to cause certain changes or reactions. So that's, her question is showing that the movie is being affected. Because I was tweeting about it, just as I'm tweeting it, people was going to the website like, man, what is this about? And just by looking at the trailer, people was telling me they want to buy it. So it's having transformation. We want to go to the next question. You had another comment? Y'all good? You good? Can we go to we need to go to the next question. I know our time is short. Yes, ma'am.